Today we're going to take a look at another historic firearm in our upcoming May 2024 Premier Firearms Auction, a historic Colt Single Action Army Frontier 6-shooter revolver from the Greg Lamp collection. Like many of Lamp's guns, this revolver was incredibly well researched by Lamp himself and comes with a whole binder of documentation and multiple books on the background of this revolver. If you take a look at the revolver itself, it is a classic nickel-plated 7.5-inch barreled Frontier 6-shooter with the early black powder style frame here with the screw that comes in through the front to secure the cylinder pin rather than the spring push pin that comes on the later smokeless frame Colt Single Action Armies. And this revolver is in quite nice condition. You can see it's got some use, which is fitting to what its history is, but it remains in really nice condition. You've got a lot of nickel left. The grips have that really attractive kind of mellow aged tone to them rather than like the pure black they would have been originally, but otherwise they're in a really nice shape. This revolver came straight out of the Wagner family in the Pacific Northwest and is attributed as owned by Henry Wagner, a notorious criminal operating in the Pacific Northwest in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. And Wagner was actually known as the Flying Dutchman, both because of his German ancestry and because he was essentially a, pirate. He was operating out of small boats. Early on, he was using sailing vessels and oars. And then later in his career, he's using early motor-driven craft to conduct raids on like isolated businesses and towns and stealing, cash, stealing goods from a whole slew of businesses. He had, a whole bunch of run-ins with the law. He got into some shootouts. He actually did some time in prison, got out, and immediately went back to a life of crime. And one of the things that's fascinating about this revolver is we often wonder, how was something used? What was it part of? We have good reason to believe that this revolver was actually used in a robbery in which Wagner fatally shot a constable in 1913. Wagner's kind of preferred approach was to sneak in to isolated areas in the cover of darkness, quietly on a boat, and he would sneak into town while everybody else was asleep, and they would break into local businesses, steal their cash. On March 4th, 1913, Wagner and his accomplice William Julian are targeting a store in Union Bay for the third time. Naturally, local businesses are furious that their shops keep getting broken into and are being looted. So the local law enforcement hired 2 special constables to look out on the town and watch out for the criminals. Special constables Ross and Westaway are watching the town when they see a light at the back of the store adjoining the post office. So they sneak into the shop and they hear a sound towards the back. They flash their light on and see Wagner and Julian crouched to the back of the store. And Wagner is armed with a revolver. So they turn the light back off and go to rush the criminals in an attempt to capture them. Wagner fires 2 shots, one of which hits Westaway in the chest, puncturing his lung. Westaway called out, "I am shot. Have you got him, Gordon?" And then Ross and Wagner quickly engaged in hand-to-hand combat. And Wagner is said to have called out, "Julian, shoot him! Shoot to kill, never mind me!" But Julian's already jumped out of a window and escaped. Wagner couldn't tell because it was dark. Him and Ross are just savagely fighting for control of the revolver and just to win. During the struggle, multiple shots actually go off from the revolver and singe Ross's clothing, but luckily don't hit him. So they're wrestling for control of the gun. They're beating each other with the butt of the revolver, hitting each other around the head. They're both a bloody mess. But ultimately, Constable Ross is able to overpower Wagner and knock him off. Ross has Wagner secured, so he goes to check on his partner, and he hears his last words as he finds him laying in a pool of blood. "Goodbye, Gordon. Goodbye." Naturally distraught, undoubtedly confused after being bludgeoned in the head multiple times and fighting for his own life in the dark against Wagner, Ross chucks a billy club through the front window so that he can better call out for help. Somewhere around this time period, Wagner actually regains consciousness, and Ross just gives him a good stroke across the head and knocks him back out. drags him towards the front of the store so he can keep calling for help. Then the authorities arrive on the scene. And what they find is a store that's in disarray. The front window's now been shattered from the billy club. There's a man dead in a pool of blood at the back. The shelves are knocked over. There's stuff everywhere from the struggle. And they've got two men that are beaten to a pulp, one of which is in handcuffs. They don't yet know they've captured Henry Wagner. Wagner actually gives up Julian's identity to the authorities, so they are able to go and capture him. They naturally find out they've captured the Flying Dutchman, the man responsible for so many crimes in the area for, many, many years. Like I said, he went to prison for a while, then he came back and he got back into a life of crime. There's rumors that he was actually part of the Wild Bunch gang back in the 1880s. We don't really know the full extent of his career because, all these guys are using different aliases and they're operating in different places. But they finally captured him. And Wagner had long said that he would never go to the hangman's noose. Naturally, Wagner is found guilty of murder for shooting Westaway and is sentenced to be hung. Throughout his career, he had said he would not be hung. He thought he would escape the hangman's noose. While in jail, he tried to complete suicide multiple times, but the authorities were actually able to step in and prevent him. And instead, he was hung and killed for his crimes. This incredible revolver with this fascinating tale showing how the Colt Single Action Army was the weapon of choice for both sides of the law in the late 19th and into the 20th century. This is being used in a crime in 1913 when the single action is still very popular in the West. This revolver is one of an absolute ton of incredible Colt revolvers in our upcoming May 2024 Premier Firearms Auction. The catalog is live on the website right now, so you can come online and check out what's available, and then come down to Bedford, Texas, and check out our awesome, brand new state-of-the-art facility where you can see this revolver in person, handle it, and submit your bids to buy this revolver this May.